Welcome to our Trump Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into some exciting and intense world updates. First up, NATO's Secretary General is calling for a quantum leap in defense, warning that Russia might attack within 5 years and urging a 400% boost in air and missile defenses. The upcoming NATO summit in The Hague will focus on ramping up military readiness, especially with European nations on high alert. Next, we turn to Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum, who will be attending the G7 summit in Alberta, invited by Prime Minister Mark Carney. She plans to meet with world leaders including President Trump, addressing trade tensions and global security. This move highlights the summit's broadened scope, bringing in leaders from outside the G7 to discuss peace, economic growth, and more. Finally, the White House is facing staffing challenges under Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, with several candidates declining positions amid internal chaos and scandals. Meanwhile, a riot at a Tennessee prison was contained without major injuries, and the Washington, D.C. Pride Parade drew tens of thousands celebrating LGBTQ+ rights. Please continue to watch for more detailed insights. According to the Toronto Star, NATO's Secretary General Mark Rutte has issued a stark warning about the escalating threat from Russia, emphasizing the urgent need for a quantum leap in collective defense. He advocates for a 400% increase in air and missile defenses, citing Russia's rapid ammunition production and the potential for a military attack within 5 years. Rutte envisions a more robust alliance, urging member countries to meet or exceed the current 2% of GDP military spending, with a proposed target of 3.5%, alongside increased investments in infrastructure and defense-related expenditures. The heightened threat on NATO's eastern flank, exemplified by Russia's terror tactics in Ukraine, underscores the alliance's necessity to modernize and expand its military capabilities, including armored vehicles and artillery shells, to ensure collective security. The Toronto Star also highlights the upcoming G7 summit in Alberta, where Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum will participate, marking Mexico's engagement in high-level discussions on global peace, security, and economic growth. Invited as a guest, Sheinbaum aims to strengthen bilateral relations with G7 nations, including the U.S., amidst ongoing trade renegotiations and tensions stemming from former President Trump's tariffs. The summit's agenda reflects a focus on countering foreign interference, transnational crime, and fostering global cooperation, with leaders like Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and others emphasizing the importance of multilateral efforts in a complex geopolitical landscape that includes contentious invitations and diplomatic negotiations. Meanwhile, The Independent reports on internal chaos within the U.S. Department of Defense, where Pete Hegseth, a controversial figure appointed as Defense Secretary, struggles to fill key staff positions. Despite his high-profile nomination and confirmation, Hegseth faces rejection from qualified candidates amid scandals involving classified information leaks and questions about his judgment. Senior officials, including Vice President J.D. Vance and Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, have been compelled to step in to assist in recruitment, revealing a turbulent environment marked by departures and public scrutiny. The ongoing turmoil raises doubts about Hegseth's leadership amid allegations of misconduct, security breaches, and internal disarray, casting a shadow over the department's ability to effectively manage national defense priorities. According to Yahoo US, a recent riot at Truesdale Turner Correctional Center near Nashville was swiftly contained by law enforcement agencies. The disturbance began when a group of inmates refused to return to their cells, creating chaos that included setting small fires, damaging property, and disrupting security cameras. The prison staff responded with chemical agents, and a multi-agency effort, involving roughly 100 officers, managed to restore order. Fortunately, no major injuries occurred, although 3 guards were briefly held hostage but safely rescued. Sheriff Ray Russell assured the public that the inmates never escaped the yard and that the situation was under control, emphasizing the containment within the prison fences. Deutsche Welle reports that Washington, D.C. hosted its 50th Pride Parade, a vibrant celebration that drew tens of thousands of LGBTQ+ community members and allies from around the world. This event served as a powerful act of defiance against the rollback of queer rights under the Trump administration. Participants marched through the streets, expressing joy, solidarity, and resilience amid ongoing political challenges. The parade not only celebrated love and diversity but also underscored the community's determination to protect their rights and push for equality in the face of adversity, transforming the city into a pulsating hub of pride and activism. The Independent describes Dr. Phil's recent involvement with ICE agents during a series of immigration raids in Los Angeles, a move that garnered significant attention. Filmed alongside immigration officials, Dr. Phil's crew documented the operations, which targeted high-value individuals and sparked protests across the city. During an interview segment, ICE Acting Director Tom Homan emphasized a strict zero-tolerance policy, warning that interference with officers would not be tolerated, and describing protests as a growing threat. The raids and subsequent protests led to hundreds of arrests and violent clashes, prompting calls from President Trump to deploy troops to manage the unrest. This coverage highlights the tense atmosphere surrounding immigration enforcement and the media's role in shaping public perception. CNN vividly depicts the controversial scene in Los Angeles, where Dr. Phil McGraw was embedded with ICE during a series of high-profile immigration raids. The footage captured by McGraw's team underscores the theatricality and media spectacle surrounding the Trump administration's aggressive immigration enforcement. The presence of the TV personality, who had previously accompanied ICE in Chicago, highlights the administration's strategic use of media to shape public perception. As protests erupted and chaos ensued, President Trump amplified the narrative through social media, claiming Los Angeles was invaded by illegal aliens and criminals, promising to liberate the city with the deployment of the National Guard. His inflammatory rhetoric and the televised images of unrest drew criticism from residents and fueled a broader debate about the administration's approach, which seemed as much about garnering TV attention as enforcing immigration laws. CNN reports a significant shift in American consumer sentiment in May, following a period of economic uncertainty driven by the trade war with China. The Federal Reserve survey reveals that Americans' inflation expectations for the upcoming year plummeted to 3.2%, the largest decline since late 2022, reflecting relief amid easing trade tensions. This optimism extended to job security, with fewer Americans fearing unemployment and more feeling confident about their income prospects. However, despite these positive signs, concerns linger over rising food prices, which reached a 5.5% expected increase, the highest since October 2023. The survey underscores how global trade tensions and tariffs have created economic anxiety, yet recent developments suggest a temporary respite that has bolstered consumer confidence, even as uncertainties about inflation and employment persist. CNN details the ongoing, complex conflict between Russia and Ukraine, emphasizing President Vladimir Putin's calculated responses to Ukrainian strikes. After Ukraine's meticulously planned spiderweb drone operation destroyed Russian bombers, Moscow retaliated with a series of missile and drone attacks across Ukraine, including a significant strike on Kyiv. Despite Putin's promises to make Ukraine pay for its actions, analysts note that Russia's retaliatory capacity is constrained by both political caution and material limitations, such as the increasing number of drones used in attacks. Moscow's responses tend to be measured and deliberate, avoiding overt escalation that might reveal vulnerabilities or provoke broader conflict. Meanwhile, Ukraine continues to demonstrate resilience and ingenuity, launching daring operations like the attempted destruction of the Crimean Bridge, signaling that the war remains a grueling stalemate with both sides preparing for further, potentially escalating, confrontations. CNN reports that U.S. stocks showed a mixed performance on Monday, with the S&P 500 nearing an all-time high amid ongoing trade negotiations between Washington and Beijing in London. The Dow declined by 75 points, while the Nasdaq Composite edged up slightly, reflecting investor cautiousness as they awaited news from the trade talks. The S&P 500, which had recently hit its highest point since February, was just 2.4% shy of a new record, buoyed by a two-month rally driven by President Trump's softened stance on tariffs and the perception that trade tensions might ease. After a tumultuous period marked by sharp swings in March and April due to tariff threats, the market has rebounded more than 20%, supported by economic data that alleviated fears about the economy under Trump's tariff policies. Major banks like Goldman Sachs and Deutsche Bank have revised their year-end targets for the S&P 500 upward, reflecting optimism about a potential trade deal and economic resilience. Analysts suggest that if the index surpasses its previous high, it could mark the end of a correction that began in March, with historical trends indicating a potential 10% rise over the following months. However, experts warn that market volatility remains likely as trade negotiations continue, and significant policy surprises could influence the trajectory of stocks. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6 Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6 team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6 Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6 Brief via email.